Happy Halloween and welcome to the 31 days of Halloween films for 31 days of Halloween in October, which was a lot of fun to do this month. This video is going up on Halloween, so please comment down below and let me know what are you doing for Halloween, what are your plans. I hope you're watching some Halloween films tonight, and if you're looking for some ideas, you found the right place. Also comment down below and let me know if you know what my Halloween costume is supposed to be. So this month we decided to do something a little different, and we decided to put a bunch of random Halloween horror films, a mix of a little bit of everything, classics, new films, old films, in a pumpkin bucket, and then we had to pick at random every single day of the month. We actually managed to reach 31 films before the end of the month, but this was a fun idea and I highly recommend this for next year. It's kind of a fun little Halloween tradition I think we're gonna continue because we still have a lot of films in here that we didn't get to finish because I did put way more than 31 in here. I'm gonna try to talk really fast about each of these films because obviously I have 31 to talk about. So we're gonna try to go through them quickly. I will start with the newer films and then kind of go into the classics by the end. And I'll talk a little bit more about the new stuff than the classics because I'm sure most of you have seen or heard of the majority of the films on this list. Okay, so I have to start off with the most obvious film this month that everyone's talking about, and it's Halloween Kills. It is the Halloween film of the month. It's in theaters now, but we did watch it on Peacock, which, by the way, a lot of the films I'm going to mention in this list were free on Peacock. And by the way, this film is a continuation from the 2018 Halloween film. So if you haven't seen that one, you might be a little lost. So I recommend definitely make sure you see that one first. But it's another Michael Myers film. There's not much to say. He kills a lot of people. I think the film is fun. I enjoyed it. It's more similar to the original films when it comes to just slasher non-stop. A little less characters, a little less story, which technically I like the 2018 film better of Halloween because I felt like there was more of a background story to the characters. I wanted more Jamie Lee Curtis in this film and she was not as much in it. So I'm looking forward to the third film because I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to wrap this all up. Next up we have Muppets Haunted Mansion, which is on Disney Plus, and it just came out and it's a fun time. This is actually the Muppets' first Halloween special, which is pretty cool, and I love that they went with the Haunted Mansion theme because I'm sure most of you agree Haunted Mansion is one of the best themed rides in Disney. So if you enjoy Haunted Mansion references and if you like the Muppets in any way, shape, or form, then you will enjoy this. It's good for the kids, it's good for the adults. Next up is Old, and this is a 2021 film by M. Night Shyamalan, and it is currently on Redbox, which is how we ended up renting it. It is a horror thriller and it's based on a family who travels to a holiday vacation where they end up in this isolated beach and everybody is starting to age rapidly, which is a terrifying concept of its own. I don't personally think it's one of M. Night Shyamalan's best films, but I do think it was terrifying in its own way. Just the thought of aging rapidly. I've never seen a film before that kind of has that idea or concept, so I thought it was unique. Next up we have The Trip, and this is a 2021 Netflix film that just came out. It is a horror thriller. It is about a couple who wants to kill each other. So they go to this cabin and something gets in the way or interferes with that plan, and it's kind of an interesting idea. I liked it. I think it's a fun ride. It's a little bit of dark comedy. My boyfriend and I enjoyed it, and it was kind of a unique idea for a film, I guess, in a way. So it was good. It's on Netflix, worth checking out. Another Netflix film that just came out this month is called Night Teeth, and this is a film about vampires in LA. It's a teen drama romance. It's not really scary at all. It's more comical, it's fun. Debbie Ryan is one of the main characters if you like her. And honestly, I really enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I went into it thinking, oh, it's gonna be some silly vampire thing, but it kind of ended up being really fun to watch. And I will say, if you're someone who likes Vampire Diaries, True Blood, Twilight, then you'll probably appreciate this modern day style LA version of a vampire love story. This next film is not new, but I have to talk about it because we watched it the other night and it was really good. And it's called Level 16. It's a 2018 film that's on Netflix as well. Girls in a prison-like boarding school embark on a desperate search to uncover the awful truth behind their captivity. I was so surprised with how good this film was. I just didn't expect where it went. It kept me really intrigued the whole time. I was very curious about what was going on and why they're in this boarding school and what's happening. and the ending didn't disappoint. I was watching someone else's recommendations and they mentioned this film, and I'm glad I watched it, and I think it's definitely one of those movies that I highly recommend because I think it's under the radar and it's really good. Next up we have Gojiam, Haunted Asylum. This is a 2018 Korean horror that is actually free right now on Tubi and Vudu. And it is about a horror web series where a crew decides to do a live broadcast while they explore an abandoned asylum. It's scary. If you like watching live streams on YouTube, and if you like found footage style-esque movies, like the Blair Witch Project and stuff like that, and it is in Korean, so you do have to read the English subtitles, but I did not think it took away from the experience. I think it got really scary by the end, and I liked it a lot. Now this next film is very similar to the last one. It's called Hell House LLC, and it's also that kind of found footage, more documentary style film. It's a 2015 film, and it is free as well on Tubi and Vudu. And this film is based on a haunted house where 15 people were killed. And it's like a documentary style film where they're trying to uncover or find out what exactly happened, and it kind of goes back through what the crew was filming while they made this haunted house. And I thought it was another really good, you know, fun film that is based on a haunted house, so if you like haunted houses. Now we're gonna go into some classic films, and a lot of these films I had never seen, which is crazy because some of these are like, how have I not watched this? So bear with me. Rosemary's Baby. How have I never seen this film? It was so good. It is actually one of the best films I've seen this month, which is ironic because I never really watched it because I thought it was gonna be kind of boring. Rosemary's Baby is from 1968. It's a psychological horror. It's set in New York. A woman gets pregnant and she believes her baby is somehow, she believes there's something evil going on with her pregnancy and her baby. It's good. Definitely one of those films that if you have not seen it, which I'm surprised if you haven't, but if you haven't, you should. Next up we have The Fly. This is a 1986 horror sci-fi by David Cronenberg, and Jeff Goldblum plays the main character, who is a guy who turns into a human fly. And this film, by far the grossest film in this whole list. It's very grotesque, really shows this guy going through different levels and transformations of him becoming a fly, and the amount of makeup and prosthetics and stuff they do to him in this film is just so out there that I had to appreciate the film for that, but also it was disturbing to look at sometimes and very gross and disgusting, but still worth watching. So next up is The Witches, and this is another one that I don't understand how I've never seen before. I think it's kind of for kids, but if I was a kid and I'd seen this film, I would have been scared and terrified. It is a 1990 film that is actually on HBO Max right now, and it's considered a family fantasy film. So I guess, again, kids could watch it, but I wouldn't have been able to handle this film as a kid. It is comedic. It is silly. There's this little boy, he kind of gets in the way with the witches. It does remind me of Hocus Pocus a little bit in that sense, but takes a totally different turn. I went into it not knowing anything about what would happen in the film, and it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I can't believe I had never seen it. It's one of those films that I'm definitely gonna look forward to rewatching in the future during Halloween season. But I will say, I know there's a remake, and it has Anne Hathaway in it, and I'm curious to know if it's worth watching. Is it good? Comment down below and let me know. Next up is The Thing. This is a 1982 horror sci-fi by John Carpenter, and it's a creature feature film where there's a creature involved, but this one's set in Antarctica, and Kurt Russell is the main character. So what else do you want? It's good. It was fun. Next up we have Sleepaway Camp, and this is another film that I can't believe I've never seen, but it is a 1983 film that is currently free on Tubi and Pluto. It is a horror slasher. It's basically Friday the 13th, but without Jason. And it's about a bunch of teens getting slashed in a summer camp. I mean, what else do you want? It's Halloween. It's the season to watch slasher films. This is one that I would say is definitely worth adding to your list if you've never seen it. Next up we have Gremlins 2, because we've seen the first Gremlins way too much, so I wanted to watch the second one because I don't think I had ever seen that one. The second one is nothing like the first one. The second one took the concept of the first film and just went and like skyrocketed everything into a whole new level. It's 1990 comedy fantasy. It's free right now on Peacock and HBO Max, and it's a lot of fun. It's silly. It's meant to be almost pretty much ridiculous. But if you like Gremlins, you'll like Gremlins too. Friday the 13th, part 2 as well. Because we had just watched Friday the 13th last month pretty much. So we decided to go ahead and watch part 2 because we have to include a Friday the 13th film in this whole thing. It's from 1981 and it's free on Peacock right now. But we have to still watch part 3. But I will say part 2 is exactly what you would expect. There's not much to say. It's literally what I would have expected from part 2. So curious to see part 3, if it's any better than part 2 or part 1. But I will say there's more Jason in part 2. So yeah, we'll see what part 3 brings. Next up we have Bride of Chucky, because I have seen Chucky too much. And I know there's a ton of Chucky films, but I wanted to see The Bride of Chucky, because I don't remember seeing that one, and if I had seen it, it had been so long that I forgot about it. It's currently free on Peacock, and it's a 1998 film that basically is Chucky being resurrected by his ex-girlfriend Tiffany, and then she somehow gets turned also into a doll. And it's just a fun concept to see 2 killer dolls kill people, so you like that. Next up we have An American Werewolf in London, and I think I have seen this one before, but I didn't remember it, so it's like watching it all over again for the first time. This is a 1981 film that is currently free on Peacock. This wouldn't be a Halloween movies list if I didn't include somehow a werewolf film, but I will say the transformation scene in this film is crazy. I know that transformation scene is very iconic. For being 1980s, it is really well done. It's almost crazy to think how they were able to do that scene. If there's anything to watch, it's that one scene, so if you have to YouTube it if you don't want to watch the film, but the film's good. I still recommend it. Next up we have Alien from 1979. I'm sure everyone has seen Alien. I have seen Alien before many times, but it had been a while, so we thought we need to watch Alien. And honestly, I never remembered it being this slow and kind of boring. I know that's probably a super controversial thing to say because it's such a classic, but it's a little boring. It's a little slow. It takes a long time to get to the good part, and that's my only complaint. To me, Alien will always stick out because of the great movie ride and that one scene where the alien comes down on top of you. And I remember being a kid and crying my eyes out in that one scene in the great movie ride. To me, that's what I always will think of when I think of Alien. But the movies, alright. Next we have I Know What You Did Last Summer, and this is a 1997 horror slasher that's currently free on Peacock. It is such a classic late 90s horror slasher film that features a lot of very famous late 90s actors and actresses like Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt, and it's not really scary. I think this is a good one if you're someone who doesn't want to watch something too scary, or if you kind of want to watch like a horror slasher film but you don't want it to be like too intense. It's pretty good for that. Next we have Jeepers Creepers, and this is a 2001 horror thriller about a brother and sister who are going against this indestructible creature. And I will say, I had never seen this one. Jeremy was the one who told me to add this to the list, and I mean it's all right. It doesn't like stand out above the rest, but it's still Halloween. Next up is The Ring, classic of course, 2002 supernatural horror thriller. It's currently on Pluto and Amazon Prime. It's about a videotape that kills you after you watch it in 7 days. You know what's weird is that The Ring is one of those films that I had seen back in the day when I was in high school, and I remember it being so scary, and now after watching it again I was like, this movie isn't really that scary. I don't know why I remember it being so terrifying, but it's really light on the horror, so another good option if you're looking for something that's not too scary, something spooky to put on during the Halloween season, but it's not something that's gonna like give you nightmares. And going along with the early 2000s, we have Freddy vs. Jason. This is a 2003 film that is currently on Peacock and HBO Max. I had to include somehow a Freddy Krueger film in this list, and I didn't want to include the first original film because I'd seen it too much. So then I was going to include the next film after that, but then I thought, I've never seen Freddy vs. Jason. I wonder how that is. It is exactly what you would expect. It's the 2 horror icons who have a face-off in this film. And it's pretty bad, but it's bad in a good way. You know what I mean? Like, it's meant to be kind of bad. It's a little cheesy and a little ridiculous, and it's still enjoyable. We saw 3 Mike Flanagan films this month. So starting off with Gerald's Game. This is a 2017 film that's currently on Netflix. It is based on the novel by Stephen King. And if you haven't seen it, which I'm sure you have, it is about a woman who gets handcuffed to a bed after her husband dies by accident. And then the whole film is set in this one spot, in this one scene, in this one room of the house. And I will say, any film that can pull off being interesting and is literally all filmed in one setting is to me worth it, and something to at least appreciate for that. I do think this one's very more psychological thriller than anything else, but I think it's good. I will say it's more on the slow side, but if you like this concept, Till Death with Megan Fox, which we watched about a month or two ago, that one is like the slightly elevated version of Gerald's Game. The next Mike Flanagan film is Absentia. Absentia. This is from 2011 and it's currently on Tubi, and it's about two sisters who find a mysterious tunnel where people disappear. It is really good, actually. We were surprised. It's different, very unique concept, something I've never seen in films before. I like the way it explored this different style of a monster, I guess you could say. Definitely think it's one of those Mike Flanagan films that people don't talk about. It's under the radar, so highly recommend checking it out if you like Mike Flanagan. And of course I had to include Ouija, Origin of Evil, in the Mike Flanagan binge. And this one's 2016, it's on HBO Max, and it's about a mother who, she scams people into believing that she can perform a seance and that she can speak to spirits, and then her daughter ends up getting possessed by a spirit and a lot happens. I mean, it's good. It's not my favorite from the three. I think Absentia is probably my favorite, and Gerald's Game before I would say Ouija, but it's spooky, which is perfect for spooky season. Okay, next up we have Scary Movie 4, because scary movies are a classic in their own way, and Scary Movie 4 happens to be on Netflix right now, so we thought, why not? It's from 2006 and it's a parody of Halloween films, and this one's focusing more on the War of the Worlds, Saw, The Village, and The Grudge. And of course, it's silly, it's cringy, the comedy is so bad that it's good type of thing, where it's meant to be overly done that it's kind of bad, but it's fun, it's funny. I will say the first three Scream movies are the best, of course. The fourth one was still pretty decent. I don't remember 5 and 6, and I'm pretty sure 6 is probably the worst. It's been a long time they haven't done one, and with all the films right now being, everything's a remake anyways, I feel like they might as well go back into doing a Scream Movie 7, so I wonder. Next, I have to mention some Tim Burton films, because this wouldn't be a Halloween movie list if I didn't include some Tim Burton films, and if you weren't listening to Danny Elfman this month, then I don't know what is Halloween to you, but it's necessary. First one is Corpse Bride. It's currently on HBO Max right now, and it has Johnny Depp and Helena, and it's a beautiful love story that is, I don't know, it's okay, it's fine. It's claymation style, which Jeremy had never seen this film before, so I'm surprised he actually liked it, because he's not a big fan of claymation style films. I don't think it compares to The Nightmare Before Christmas, but it's good. Of course, I had to include Beetlejuice in this list, and specifically because we just went to Halloween Horror Nights and one of the themed houses is Beetlejuice. So we really needed to watch it before going, just to kind of like really analyze every single character and scene, so that when we were going to the house we could appreciate all the details. And I will say they did an amazing job with every single minor character, every single scene and room in the house. It was awesome. Beetlejuice is a 1988 Tim Burton film with Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder and Catherine O'Hara and Alec Baldwin, and I just don't know what else you need in a film. It has it all. Next up we have Edward Scissorhands, and this is a 1990 film of Tim Burton that has Winona Ryder and Johnny Depp, and they're so beautiful together. It's one of my favorite Tim Burton films, I will say. We dressed up like Kim and Edward once for Halloween, and yeah, I think it's really a fun, romantic, weird and quirky Halloween film of Tim Burton. Next we have It Chapter 1, and listen, I had to include a clown movie somehow in this list, because I'm like, okay, vampires, werewolves, ghosts, like we need a clown. I couldn't decide which It to do. Do I do the original with Tim Curry in it, or do I do Chapter 1 or Chapter 2 with Bill Skarsgård? But I will say the first It, the original, the older film, it's a little boring. I love Tim Curry, but it is a little slow, so I decided to go with the Chapter 1. And I also do prefer Chapter 1 over Chapter 2, because I think the kids are awesome, and I think the adults were fun in the Chapter 2 film, but the kids is just, I don't know. Out of all the It's, It Chapter 1's my favorite. And I'm curious to know what you think. Are you team Tim Curry or team Bill Skarsgård when it comes to Pennywise? Who is the better Pennywise? Because I have an appreciation for both of them. I do think Bill Skarsgård is scarier, but Tim Curry is like classic. And I love Tim Curry, so I don't know. You tell me what you think. Okay, finally, number 31 on this list is Ghostbusters. I could not have Ghostbusters somehow involved in this month. And this is a 1984 film with Bill Murray. It's a fun time, it's a classic. It's one of those films you rewatch every single Halloween season. And there are so many other films that of course were not included in this list. I mean, I could have done 100 Halloween classic films if I had 100 days. I did want to include somehow Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I wanted to include Scream, Jennifer's Body. I mean, there's so many good Halloween fun films, but this is just what I had to work with for this month, and a lot of them were picked at random. It was fun picking at random and not knowing what to expect that night, and it did encourage us to watch films that maybe we weren't expecting to watch or we didn't feel like we were in the mood for, and then you end up actually being surprised with the fact that it was good. It's like forgivable if it's not that good because it still gets you in the spirit of the spooky season, and sometimes they're not all gonna be great, and that's fine. For the sake of the season, you know. But really quick, I just wanted to mention there was one film that we did watch this month that's not in the list because it's not Halloween or horror related, and it's called The Guilty. It's on Netflix right now, and I will say this one was worth watching. It has Jake Gyllenhaal in it, and he's a 911 operator, and he gets a phone call from someone who is in trouble, and it's one of those films that is all taking place in this one day, night setting. If you've seen Phone Booth, or there's another one, The Call, I think it's called, with Halle Berry. It's in that type of avenue, but I thought it was really good. I just wanted to recommend it if you haven't seen it. Besides that, we are watching You, season 3 right now. So far, so good. It's not as good as the first 2 seasons, but you know, I like where it's going, I guess. We'll see. Comment down below and let me know, what are your plans tonight for Halloween? Are you gonna be watching a specific movie? And what movie will that be? I think we're gonna be watching Rocky Horror Picture Show because that's my favorite movie in the whole world. So we're probably gonna be watching that. And I hope you have a happy Halloween, and toodaloo.